This is
They
the
thought it was
sign
just
for
another charity
help
gala.
in sign
Crystal glasses
language.
clinking, polite applause, cameras flashing, but no one noticed the moment the CEO froze mid-smile and began signing desperately to the exhausted single dad standing beside her, forming 3 silent words that would turn the entire room into a battlefield. Help me. He has a weapon. If you love shocking twists, hidden heroes, and stories where the quietest person changes everything, hit subscribe now, because this story doesn't just take a turn. You won't see the ending coming. The night began with rehearsed elegance, the kind only billion-dollar fundraisers could manufacture, where powerful people pretended generosity tasted better than control, and Daniel Reed, a widowed single father who still smelled faintly of daycare soap and instant coffee, stood out like a misplaced comma in a sentence written for the elite, invited only because his deaf daughter Lily had gone viral months earlier after signing the national anthem at a local baseball game, drawing the attention and PR instincts of Victoria Hale, the famously untouchable tech CEO hosting the gala, a woman whose smile could calm markets and whose silence could destroy companies. And when Daniel first met her backstage, he noticed something others didn't. She signed to Lily naturally, fluently, with no interpreter, no hesitation, as if this world of silence had once been her own refuge too. And for a brief moment Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Safety, but that illusion cracked later when a man named Charles Brenner, a venture capitalist with polished menace, arrived late, eyes cold, handshake crushing, his presence tightening the air like an unseen storm, and as speeches droned on and cameras hovered, Daniel felt Victoria subtly shift closer to him during applause, her hand brushing his sleeve, her fingers moving deliberately against her champagne flute, not random gestures but precise shapes Lily had taught him late at night after nightmares, and his heart skipped when he understood her hands were speaking directly to him beneath the noise. Help me, and then she signed again, slower this time, her eyes never leaving Brenner. He has a weapon, and Daniel's first instinct was disbelief. This was a billionaire CEO surrounded by security, politicians, former generals, yet her hands trembled, her jaw locked, and Daniel remembered the weight of helplessness, the nights he couldn't save his wife, and something hardened inside him as he scanned Brenner, noticing the slight bulge under his tailored jacket, the way he positioned himself near exits, and the way Victoria's security detail seemed oddly relaxed around him. Too relaxed, and suddenly Daniel realized the trap wasn't aimed at the guests, it was aimed at Victoria herself. Daniel didn't panic, because panic was loud, and survival for him had always lived in silence, in hospital corridors and playground corners where Lily's small hands taught him patience, so instead he responded the only way he could, by signing back, slowly, subtly, ask for help from security, and Victoria's eyes flashed with bitter understanding as she shook her head almost imperceptibly and signed back. They work for him, and the truth slammed into Daniel harder than fear ever could, because money didn't just buy loyalty, it rented morality, and as the auction began and applause erupted, Daniel saw Brenner lift his glass toward Victoria, smiling like a man already counting victory, and in that moment Daniel made a choice no one would ever thank him for. As he stepped away casually, appearing lost, another awkward guest, while quietly texting Lily's babysitter to call emergency services anonymously, then weaving through the crowd toward the stage equipment where he unplugged a cable just enough to cause a minor audio delay, chaos without suspicion, and when the lights flickered, Brenner moved, his hand sliding inside his jacket, but Daniel moved faster, stepping directly into his path with a clumsy apology, knocking into him hard enough that the weapon, a compact ceramic blade undetectable by standard scanners, clattered briefly against the floor before Daniel kicked it beneath a display table, and the room laughed, assuming a drunken mishap, while Brenner's smile vanished, his whisper venomous, but before he could react, Victoria raised her hand for silence and began signing to the audience, revealing publicly, for the first time, that she had been born deaf and learned to speak later, a confession that stunned the room into stillness, and in that silence she signed one final message, not to Daniel but to Brenner, her voice shaking as words left her mouth at last. You taught me how monsters hide in plain sight, and as security swarmed, real security this time, alerted by Daniel's call, Brenner was restrained, his empire unraveling in seconds as evidence poured in. Blackmail, coercion, a failed assassination attempt disguised as a gala accident, and Daniel stood frozen as Lily was rushed in by police for safety, her small hands finding his face, and Victoria knelt before them both, tears falling freely, no cameras now, just truth. The headlines the next day called Victoria Hale a hero, a survivor, a visionary, but the story they didn't see was the quiet one that followed, the one where she showed up unannounced at Daniel's modest apartment weeks later with takeout and no entourage, signing fluently with Lily on the floor while Daniel watched, stunned, as two worlds he never thought could touch gently overlapped, and she told him the truth at last. That Brenner had groomed her from the beginning, that the company had been built on fear disguised as partnership, that she had planned the gala knowing it would be her only chance to expose him safely, but she needed someone outside the system, someone invisible, someone underestimated, and Daniel understood then why she had chosen him, why silence had saved them both. And months later, as Brenner's trial exposed an entire network of corruption, Victoria stepped down temporarily, appointing a board Lily helped her choose using a whiteboard and signed jokes, and when reporters asked Daniel how it felt to save a CEO's life, he simply said he didn't. He listened, and in a world addicted to noise, listening was the most dangerous weapon of all, and the final twist came quietly when Victoria announced a new foundation led by deaf and hard of hearing advisors, naming it after Daniel's late wife, a gesture that broke him in ways applause never could, and as Lily signed "Thank you" under a sky finally free of shadows, Daniel realized that no one had seen this coming because they never look at the quiet ones long enough to notice when they change everything.